Well, hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back to another reading from The World Order of Baha'u'llah, Selected Letters by Shoghi Effendi. Did you do your homework from last week? I suggested that you look at the Will and Testament of Abdu'l-Baha and also the Kitabi-Aqdas. Super easy reads. Just, go through it like that. Just kidding. So today is going to be a fairly long section on the local and national houses of justice. So super important that we really deepen and understand what we have in our beautiful faith here. So I'm going to jump right in, but I do want to remind you to subscribe to this channel and to like this video if you do, because it will help other people find it. It should be carefully borne in mind that the local, as well as the international House of Justice, have been expressly enjoined by the Kitabi-Aqdas that the institution of the National Spiritual Assembly as an intermediary body and referred to in the Master's will as the secondary House of Justice has the express sanction of Abdu'l-Baha, and that the method to be pursued for the election of the international and national houses of justice has been set forth by him, Abdu'l-Baha, in his will, as well as in a number of his tablets. If you'll recall, this whole letter, Shoghi Effendi is responding to some attacks that his station and the Will and Testament of Abdu'l-Baha have received. And so he's taking the opportunity to articulate all of these salient features. Moreover, the institutions of the local and national funds that are now the necessary adjuncts to all local and national spiritual assemblies have not only been established by Abdu'l-Baha in the tablets he revealed to the Baha'is of the Orient, but their importance and necessity have been repeatedly emphasized by him in his utterances and writings. The concentration of authority in the hands of the elected representatives of the believers, the necessity of the submission of every adherent of the faith to be considered judgment of Baha'i assemblies, his preference for unanimity in decision, the decisive character of the majority vote, and even the desirability for the exercise of close supervision over all Baha'i publications have been sedulously instilled by Abdu'l-Baha, as evidenced by his authenticated and widely scattered tablets. To accept his broad and humanitarian teachings on one hand, and to reject and dismiss with neglectful indifference his more challenging and distinguishing precepts would be an act of manifest disloyalty to that which he has cherished most in his life. So Shoghi Effendi, in his grace, he's really good about re-emphasizing his points, which he stated so clearly that we're not going to separate Abdu'l-Baha's spiritual and humanitarian teachings from his administrative teachings. And he gave us a nice list there. The concentration of authority in the hands of the elected representatives, the necessity of submission of every adherent of the faith to be considered, to the considered judgment of those assemblies. Okay. His preference for unanimity in decisions, the decisive character of the majority vote, even the supervision over Baha'i publications. All of this has been given to us by Abdu'l-Baha. that the spiritual assemblies of today will be replaced in time by the houses of justice and are, to all intents and purposes, identical and not separate bodies, is abundantly confirmed by Abdu'l-Baha himself. He has, in fact, in a tablet addressed to the members of the first Chicago Spiritual Assembly, the first elected Baha'i body instituted in the United States, referred to them as members of the House of Justice for that city, and has thus, with his own pen, established beyond any doubt the identity of the present Baha'i spiritual assemblies with the houses of justice referred to by Baha'u'llah. So the local spiritual assemblies are the embryonic local houses of justice referred to by Baha'u'llah. For reasons which are not difficult to discover, it has been found advisable to bestow upon the elected representatives of Baha'i communities throughout the world the temporary appellation of spiritual assemblies, a term which, as the position and aims of the Baha'i Faith are better understood and more fully recognized, will gradually be superseded by the permanent and more appropriate designation of House of Justice. Not only will the present-day spiritual assemblies be styled differently in future, but they will be enabled also to add their present functions, those powers, duties, and prerogatives necessitated by the recognition of the faith of Baha'u'llah, not merely as one of the recognized religious systems of the world, but as the state religion of an independent and sovereign power. And as the Baha'i Faith permeates the masses of the peoples of East and West, and its truth is embraced by the majority of the peoples of a number of the sovereign states of the world, will the Universal House of Justice attain the plenitude of its power and exercise as the supreme organ of the Baha'i Commonwealth, all the rights, the duties, and responsibilities incumbent upon the world's future superstate. Man, so we've got a lot in there. A lot in there. The future state religion by independent sovereign powers and sovereign states. Exciting. Yes, I really don't have much to comment on, but let me know if you have any thoughts or reactions. Like, there's a lot to ponder there, and how do we get to that point where the faith has permeated the masses of the people of East and West? And does permeate mean conversion or just permeate with ideas? Well, it says the truth of the faith embraced by the majority of the people. So I think that means full ownership of what it means to be Baha'i. What do you think? It must be pointed out, however, in this connection, that contrary to what has been confidently asserted, the establishment of the Supreme House of Justice is in no way dependent upon the adoption of the Baha'i Faith by the masses of the peoples of the world, nor does it presuppose its acceptance by the majority of the inhabitants of any one country. So he's writing in 1929, the establishment of the House of Justice, as we know it by, Supreme House of Justice, is not dependent on, it's not waiting for a certain critical mass of people to become Baha'is before we have this institution. In fact, Abdu'l-Baha himself, in one of his earliest tablets, contemplated the possibility of the formation of the Universal House of Justice in his own lifetime, and but for the unfavorable circumstances prevailing under the Turkish regime, would have, in all probability, taken the preliminary steps for its establishment. Those are always real challenges for me, you know, when when something happened in the world that prevented, Abdu'l-Baha establishing these things, like, why did the Turkish regime have to create obstacles? Like, why did God let that happen? And of course, fullness of time, or we may never know, but obviously there is a providential wisdom to it all. But I always like, a little bit with those things. It will be evident, therefore, that given favorable circumstances under which the Baha'is of Persia and of the adjoining countries under Soviet rule may be enabled to elect their national representatives in accordance with the guiding principles laid down in Abdu'l-Baha's writings, the only remaining obstacle in the way of the definite formation of the International House of Justice will have been removed. For upon the national houses of justice of the East and the West devolves the task in conformity with the explicit provisions of the will of electing directly the members of the International House of Justice, not until they are themselves fully representative of the rank and file of the believers in their respective countries, not until they have acquired the weight and the experience that will enable them to function vigorously in the organic life of the cause, can they approach their sacred task and provide the spiritual basis for the constitution of so august a body in the Baha'i world. Interesting. So not until is he talking about just the Supreme House of Justice? Okay, so not until the national houses of justice are fully functioning can they elect the International House of Justice. Is that how you guys understand this? Let me just read that part again, okay? It will be evident, therefore, that given favorable circumstances under which the Baha'is of Persia and of the adjoining countries under Soviet rule may be enabled to elect their national representatives in accordance with the guiding principles laid down in Abdu'l-Baha's writings, the only remaining obstacle in the way of the definite formation of the International House of Justice will have been removed. For upon the national houses of justice of the East and the West devolves the task, in conformity with the explicit provisions of the will, of electing directly the members of the International House of Justice, not until they are themselves fully representative of the rank and file of the believers of their respective countries and national spiritual assemblies, not until they have acquired the weight and the experience that will enable them to function vigorously in the organic life of the cause, can they approach their sacred task and provide the spiritual basis for the constitution of so august a body in the Baha'i world. Yes, so there we have the life's work of the guardian to help build up these national spiritual assemblies so that they are strong enough and functional enough and representing their task to be able to elect the Supreme House of Justice. Alrighty, my friends. I keep these in short chunks because the writings of the Guardian are so rich, and I feel like it's helpful to absorb just a little bit at a time. So I hope you're enjoying these. Please, always feel free to contact me, jacquelinclaireart.com/contact, or leave your comments below. I love hearing from you. I'd like this to feel as collaborative as possible. The cool thing about YouTube instead of Zoom or something is that these videos have a long life, and someone 3 years down the road might watch this and write a comment that just totally expands my understanding or anyone else's. So This is some really truly evergreen material. This is the next 1,000 years, right, to build up this beautiful world order that is voluntary and from the soul, from the hearts of people, a world order that is both practical and a spiritual rejuvenation. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Please like this video. And if you're watching this in real time, AYYAM-I-HA is right around the corner, and I do have children's books and art prints available. There are links below for that, and also links to sign up for 19 Days of Inspiration, my totally free email project during the Baha'i Fast, where you get a daily dose of artistic beauty and carefully selected Baha'i writings and a little personal reflection every day of the Baha'i Fast, which starts March 1st. All right, my friends, I wish you the best for playing your part in making this world a better place. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.